Hey, what's going on there, everybody? This is Samuel Leggett here, representing Team JVS, here to give you guys another movie review. Thank you guys so much for watching. I have been inspired recently. It is voting season, and I am a movie critic. And I checked out, I believe it or not, recently, Everything, Everywhere, All at Once. And it was something about that that brought me back to the baseline of enjoyment of raw cinema. That's not me gassing it up, because after that, preceding that, normally I would go and watch it and do an immediate review and that'd be it. But I saw RRR, which is amazing. I saw Close, one of the best, international films I've seen this year. I saw Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio. And I couldn't review them. Like, I just watched them, embraced them, and sucked them in. And this is no different. Avatar, The Way of Water, it has been close to, 13 years? 2009 is when we got Avatar by James Cameron. Easily still the best 3D movie of all time, right? Well, now having seen The Way of Water, there is a new reigning champion for 3D cinema, and that is The Way of Water. It is easily better than the first one. And I'll break down the exact whys and the deep dives. I will tell you this, I'm not gonna make this a very long review because I plan on having intimate discussions about this with others. I plan on trying to do a breakdown, spoiler discussion for the film as well. That's probably gonna come out next year. This is just going to be my immediate thoughts and impressions of The Way of Water. And I mean, I think that I could easily go to the cinematography very quickly, but I'm not going to do that. Instead, I'm going to pivot and talk about the new cast and the cast is back, so to speak, even though some of them have departed in ways that we thought, but really, is anybody really gone? But yeah, Sam Worthington is back in this one. Zoe Saldana is back. Believe it or not, Stephen Lang and Sigourney Weaver are back. But newcomers to this, you got Cliff Curtis. You've seen Fear the Walking Dead. In 2017, he departed from it. Everybody was wondering, why are you leaving? And couldn't find out he's going to be on this. I see why, but we'll go into that. Got Kate Winslet, CCH Ponder. You got a couple others that I don't want to go into, but Bailey Bass. I've seen her recently in Interview with the Vampire playing the role of Claudia, and she's a beast. And so when I realized that she was in this, I was like, oh, all the better. And she does an amazing job, of course. But the thing about all these actors, what you don't know is how much work is being put in. Years and years of work based on not just their acting capability to make you believe something, but they're making you believe with a lens. And that lens is motion capture. All of them have to perform motion capture, not only on land, not only in the most heated of emotion moments that is absolutely no scenery around, absolutely no one around, but just air. At times each other, with times with balls and stuff all over their face. But now they had to be underwater for a significant amount of time with motion capture, which is insane because it has not been done to these levels. And I'll go into the whys and the hows, but there's so much raw emotion in this. And there's certain key actors that I'm gonna give a shout out to, and one of them is Brenton Dalton playing the role of Luwak. Luwak is kind of like, what's the word? He is, I guess he's the Raven to the side. Like, he's not just the same as his brothers and sisters. And yes, Jake and his woman have kids. And it's very fascinating to see Sam Worthington play Jake in this way, because I identify with Jake now, because now I'm a dad. Now I understand those hesitations, those things that you don't perceive you would ever do, but you do because you want to preserve life, and not just life for other people around you and, being heroic and not, no, your own flesh and blood. And that changes everything. And I think that its cornerstone, James does such a great job with that raw emotion for this, because I've never seen Jake or Sam play Jake like this. And the other side of that is the same thing for Zoe. Zoe in this one is far better than even she was in the first one, which is crazy because she's a mom. And what will a mom not do for her kids? What will a mom not do for her family or her community and her kids? And I think that putting Jake and Zoe's character in this situation is crazy. It's so good, because now they're not acting against their family or the actors that are playing their family members, but they're acting with them. So every action that, one of their children makes, for good or bad, affects the family, but affects their perception to be able to think cognitively, to be able to react. And sometimes they can't. Sometimes they even, that's the thing. They are two of the most talented, people that are part of Pandora because of what they've done. The feat that Jake did in the first one was unprecedented, but also his wife is a whole pound as well. And so putting them in this situation in this movie, I think, was a perfect choice. I really stand behind that because it allows the kids also to thrive. The interesting thing about Bailey Bass in this one, her and her parents, played by Kate Winslet and Cliff Curtis, are of a different version of Na'vi. And they primarily are underwater, or they live on the water and they adapt to the water very differently. Even their bodies are different. And so there's this, trying to re-understand culture, trying to exist, so to speak, that Jake and his family has to kind of go through. And I think it's very fascinating, the difference of personalities from these different Na'vi. But the other thing is that's always at the epicenter of this is that you never forget that Jake was always a human. And so all the things that are happening and surrounding them, he's having to face in the back of his head because he knew who he was, that he was human. And so all of the things that the selfishness and the ambitions and the things that shouldn't be done or done against them, he's having to deal with and rectify. And now there's a certain someone in Stephen Lang that is heir apparent back in his life. And I think the funny thing about Stephen Lang in this one is they give his character more purpose, in my opinion. I think before in the first one, he was kind of like a blunt object you just didn't want to mess with. You knew for a fact he would not quit. He's the identification of a human Terminator, right? Well, they give him way more to do in this one, but they also give him a different form of ambition. And I think that it was very interesting. Sometimes that story arc, it felt like it could have been a movie on its own. And I think that also adds to the length of this film, because the film is about 3 hours and 7 minutes roughly, or maybe 3 hours and 10. It doesn't feel like that. The pacing is done really well. The editing and processing is done really well. So you don't feel the 3 hours. I had to go to the bathroom a couple different times. So I'm definitely have to go back and see it. But you don't really feel that. But it does feel like there are two distinct stories that are going on. And there's also a new character in Spider. Spider is played by Jack Champion. I think he does a really good job. They add different refining traits to what humanity is through him. So I think those things are all really good. Some stuff nitpicky because of the link or because of the composed other story arc. But, and again, I'm gonna be very short. This is easily some of the best cinematography I've ever seen. Best VFX I've ever seen. Eyes could not adjust to the frame rate or refresh rate that was actually happening in front of my eyes. And I saw this in the IMAX 3D film, in an IMAX 3D theater. I think there are times where the frames per second drop and go up. Sometimes that can be a little jarring. But the thing that I took note of is that anytime there was an underwater or water present moment, regardless of the shifting, I think the reason why they had to up the frame rate as high as they did is because strictly for the underwater. And I I have not talked to James, so I can't quote that and make sure that's true or not. But I think that is what it is, because anything that's on ground or stillness, when the frame rate is still low, it still looks better than anything you'll ever see to this year, real or not. I think sometimes when the frame rate is really high and you have like a human element or human character, sometimes it could look not real. And I think that was where my eyes needed time to adjust. But it's not to say that the action wasn't there. From beginning to end, the action is insane. The third act, there's action in this. There's some of the best action I've seen all year. You're kind of like, okay, this is the man that made Judgment Day. I get it. This is the man that understands marine biology. This is the man that understands how to make an emotive, entertaining experience of a film. And that is Avatar: The Way of Water. Easily a 9 to 9.5 out of 10. You gotta go see it. This is one of the best films that I've really seen all year. And it's not that, it's got the perfect story. It's not that, it's perfect acting or placement. I'm not going off the coattails of this is some of the best VFX ever, which is true. Or, the fact that this is James Cameron, the man. This is still one of the best movies I've seen this year. And that's just a fact. And I've seen close to 100 and some change films. So do yourself a favor. Go and check out Avatar: The Way of Water. I don't think you will be disappointed. If you don't mind, make sure you like, subscribe, hit the bell button, because when we go and do these breakdowns, when we go and have these intimate conversations, and we go and do the spoiler discussion, I want you to be there. Thanks, guys.
Falling out the top of the